Hey guys, how's it going? Well, I'm going to do a live stream basically about the Sargon Destiny stream. Well, two streams that went up today, and also there was the Kraut and Idk podcast that went up today. So I'm down to talk about it. Thing is, I don't really have any fucking viewers, or I didn't really have anyone to hang out with for Google. So I thought I would just kind of wait around until I saw to see if people trickle in or if someone would be willing to do a hangout with me. I've been slowly but surely learning this whole YouTube thing. The it really well, there are two things. One thing is I work full time, so I don't really have the time to put together serious videos because whenever I want to make a video, I'm usually too tired because I get home at about 11 or 12 at night. So that's really not an option. And then when I'm off on like Saturdays and Sundays, all I really want to do is lay around and play video games or hang out with friends and shit like that. So neither of those have really been tangible options. I would really like the time to, devote to a full time stream, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Um, but as far as this stream, I'm going to be talking about the Sargon and Destiny stream, as well as Kraut and T and Naked Ape had a podcast with an anarcho-capitalist that I thought was actually pretty interesting. What really interested me was how polite Naked Ape was towards the anarcho-capitalist, who I think was a professor at Loyola University in New Orleans. Which kind of surprised me because I didn't find his arguments really any more compelling than an anarcho-capitalist you would meet on Reddit. So I mean that's kind of an interesting factor. Um, I really wanted to do this stream with someone, but I really couldn't find anyone on a Google Hangout. So I would like to do a live conversation, and I'm also experimenting with Google Hangouts for the first time. I kind of suck ass at this, so if anyone wants to drop me a line and do a Google Hangout, I'm more than willing to do that. I actually can't even see the fucking comments on Google Hangouts, so I don't have to. You guys are gonna have to give me a second. But as far as the Sargon and Destiny stream, I think Sargon pretty. I don't know if it was an actual debate, but it was an argument that I think Sargon won multiple times. I mean, one thing I'm really just learning about Destiny for the first time the past few weeks. I did watch the first video that Sargon and Destiny did, and I kind of took him to be just sort of this token liberal, progressive kind of guy, and I thought it was an interesting stream. But when the video with him and JonTron came out, I mean, I guess he's just all of a sudden getting more popular, and I'm getting to know him as he's becoming more famous. But I really didn't find it that interesting of a debate. For reasons that I think have been mentioned all over Twitter now for the past few days, that JonTron really isn't meant to be a real debater about these topics. He's kind of a video game guy who just kind of got into this shit and is saying whatever he wants to say. I did find his Destiny's video with the Naked Ape immensely entertaining, just because Naked Ape came into that stream with just ready to fucking rip Destiny a new one, and the end of that debate was I mean, I don't know how you can't find that fucking hilarious. But I mean, as far as today's debate, I think Sargon won. I think Sargon kind of had a good grip on the ideas that he wanted to present. I'm actually very impressed by both of those guys, and I hate to say it because they really hold a lot of fucking knowledge that I just don't have. I'm too dumb for that kind of shit. I don't think I could really be in a debate with either one of them, just because I don't know if it's facts or just wordplay, but man, they just went at it for a fucking hour about economics and all that shit, dude. It was really impressive to watch, and that's kind of why I've been more interested in the YouTube community, just because of the debates have been a lot more substantial than CNN or any of that other bullshit. God damn. Well, I guess you can't look at comments on a Google Hangout live stream. I really didn't want to install any encoding software, so I guess I'm fucked here. Um. Anyway, one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about the Western Front podcast more than the Sargon and Destiny podcast. The Sargon and Destiny debate, just because it's fresher in my mind, and I think I'm a little more knowledgeable about anarcho capitalism than all the shit that Destiny and Sargon were talking about. Shit. And one thing I really wanted either Naked Ape or Kraut to mention, and they were very polite during that video, which I thought was strange. But I kind of commented after the video that I thought it was very nice of them to not mention Rhodes, so the libertarian professor wouldn't get triggered, which is kind of funny. But I actually think there is a legitimate argument in that meme of Mo Rhodes, because, okay, here's the thing. If you're living in an anarcho-capitalist society, and I actually respect ANCAPs to a certain degree, because I think, in as far as their particular criticism on contemporary liberal society, they're actually a valued source, because they present sort of claims and criticisms that you don't get from other sides of the aisle, because they're so liberty focused. I mean, they kind of present the same claims as anarcho-capital as regular libertarians, but the thing with the ANCAPs is they just go farther and say, well, we don't need government at all. So when you're looking at like the surveillance state or shit like that, for instance, ANCAPs are really, I think, at their best, because they really just show you how shitty and terrible government is, from the perspective of force, and the non-aggression principle in theory is actually kind of a solid theory, but the problem I think with it is it doesn't go, it's too simplistic. I mean, the Constitution is a complicated document, and it's complicated for a reason, because there are lots of things you have to consider. You can't just go to the non-aggression principle for fucking every facet of human life and society. It's fucking that's sort of a really dumb argument. But anyway, I mean, this is my biggest problem with anarcho-capitalism. When you look at the Rhodes meme, right, of libertarians getting triggered by Rhodes, you have to look at what an ANCAP society would actually look like. So if you're living in an ANCAP society, I guess that would mean every single road that you would go on, right, would be a privatized road, and that privatized road would need, I would imagine, some sort of maintenance. Maybe not like every month, but at least once every few years, right? So the only way that I can think of for the owners of that road to properly repair those streets is to issue some kind of toll, right? Sorry, I'm drinking a beer. So I mean, so if you look at like New York, right, there's a toll booth on certain roads, I guess on main thoroughfares. I've never been to New York, but like, so there are places in every state that have toll booths where there is a private road and you have to pay for that private road. In an ANCAP society, there is absolutely nothing fucking stopping these guys of having a toll booth for every road. I mean, you could, let's say you want to go to the grocery store and it's 6 blocks away and there are 6 different streets. There's absolutely nothing preventing an ANCAP society from having 6 different toll booths, each one requiring $5 to go through that toll so you can get to that street, so you can go to the grocery store. So just to get out of your fucking house and drive to get a pack of cigarettes, you would have to pay $30, then pay for the fucking cigarettes. And number one, there's nothing stopping that from happening. Number two, there's nothing stopping that from happening to an outrageous degree, to where, like, what's stopping them from paying $100, right? Because the owners of that road has a monopoly. There's no other road you can use to get to the grocery store. So you have to pay. So he could just say, hey, you have to pay a fucking $100. You have to pay $200. You have to pay $1,000, stopping them from doing that. And that, to me, that's a major problem, And I guess what an ANCAP would say is, well, there could be someone else who decides, hey, I'm going to build another road, and if this guy's paying $100, I'm going to pay $90. Charge $90. So instead of having to pay $100 for that guy's road, you have to pay $90 for this guy's road, which is still fucking bullshit, And it's a legitimate problem that doesn't seem to have a clear solution. And that's, I guess you can say that's being done in the name of liberty or whatever. But if that's the case, I think most people, 90% of people, would prefer fucking coercion than paying their fucking paycheck to just drive on the fucking street every single fucking day and go bankrupt. That's a legitimate argument. There is also the problem, and they kind of touched on this in the Kraut and Naked Ape live stream of the podcast. I'm sorry, of the idea of crime, because the professor, I forgot his name, but I know he's from Loyola University in New Orleans. He was basically telling the story of how he was a libertarian. Well, first he was like a progressive, like he went to school with Bernie Sanders, and then he became sort of a Ayn Rand objectivist capitalist after meeting Ayn Rand and some other people in the 60s. And after having an argument, he was told to read a couple of books, and he read the books and he was converted. So, which is very suspicious to me, that one or two books can completely sway your entire ideology. And then a few years after that, he read some fucking ANCAP book. I think it was Murray Rothbard. And after he read he had a 5-minute conversation with somebody, and then he became an ANCAP. But one of the reasons that this guy was saying that he became a libertarian was the idea that, if the post office was run privately like a government, it would be a lot more efficient. Which I think is true. I actually think there's legitimacy in that idea. But the problem with anarcho-capitalism's idea on this is, I've never heard a theory of how this would work with police, court systems, the penal system, all that kind of shit. And that's actually very, very important. The only thing I can think out in my head, and there may be theories on this that I just haven't read, but the only thing I can think of that might be plausible is the criminal justice system in an ANCAP society would look basically like what ours look now, with the only difference being the participation in that court system, in that police system, in that jail system would be voluntary. Which actually sounds like an interesting idea at first, because you could say, well, if I want policing for my house, I will pay for policing just like I pay for the electric bill or the water bill. But I'm not completely convinced on that, because there could be people who just can't afford to pay under this. This is all hypothetical, but if you're in anarcho-capitalist society, right? And you just buy a house or you just buy property, you could possibly be in a situation where you wouldn't be able to pay for, the police fee or whatever the fuck they would charge, just like you wouldn't be able to pay your electric bill or your gas bill. Now people skip their electric and gas bill all the fucking time now. And when that happens, they face the consequences of that, and they don't pay it for various reasons most of the time. If you're like me or you're like a lot of other people, you're struggling just to make rent every week, and that gas bill or that electric bill is a fucking pain in the ass. Well, if you're in an ANCAP society and you're saying, I'm not going to pay for my police bill, like I'm going to wait a month to pay for my police bill, and the police say, okay, well, we're shutting off our services, right? We're not going to police you if we get a call from your house that says, someone's killing us or raping us. We're not going to respond to it because you haven't paid your bill. That, to me, that presents various problems. The first problem is the ethical problem, right? Is that fucking ethical for, the law enforcement to not enforce the law if someone doesn't pay them for the law? And under an ANCAP society, they would say that's totally ethical. Under a fucking human being morality, I don't think. I think that's pretty problematic. The other problem, of course, is what happens to, if a person doesn't pay their police bill and a guy comes in and kills them, what happens to the murderer? Under that guise, I imagine he would just get completely scot-free, redeemed of the crime he just committed. Now that's fucking problematic because I mean, if this person was murdered, who's going to pay the fucking bill for that, for the cops? They have no fucking incentive to go and actually catch this guy and incarcerate him. And on a similar note, who would pay for the fucking jail system, right? There's no, if you choose not, the jail system is considered a completely communal idea, that there's this space in society that is kept so that the society at large doesn't have to deal with them because they are considered too violent or too hazardous for the general law-abiding public to interact with on a daily basis. If you're in an anarcho-capitalist society, which is a society that's entirely based on the individual, right? The individual has no incentive to pay for a jail bill, right? It would be absolutely necessary for every person to pay for the jail in an ANCAP society. Now, first of all, I don't even know how we would determine who these people are, because for one thing, because there's really no communities as I see it. There's no cities or towns or countries in an ANCAP society. I could be wrong on that, but the lines that are drawn are very, very different because there's no government and there's no taxable borders that you can look at. So it would be a problem determining who would pay for the jail or who would pay for the courts. And I'm not even sure how any of that would fucking work, and I guess maybe I'll have to read up for it because I'm sure there's some ANCAPs who have dealt with this, but I personally can't see any plausible way that a jail could work under a voluntary basis, or even a court system could work under a voluntary basis, because you could say the people being jailed would have to pay for it, right? That would make sense, but that would be the non-aggression principle, a violation of the NAP, at least I would imagine. So I'm not entirely sure. All right, I'm just completely jabbering. I'm going to. This is just more of a test stream because I was wondering how many viewers I would get for one thing, and I'm not seeing a viewer count or a comment count. So I'm going to hang up and try something else. Thanks, guys, if anyone was listening.